Hi guys, welcome back to Into the Light, a different life story, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Another day, another fantastic day for an interview. And I've got Emile Mathee with me. And I'm really excited to have this guy on my show because this guy has actually been dealing with the absolute crucial skill of shutting up or modifying that inner voice that tries to keep you where it thinks you belong, below down there. Go down there. Who are you to come up to actually try to live a life meaningful? Ha! That kind of voice that always tells you, you idiot. Who do you are? Who do you think you are that you could run a show like that? You a show host? My God. All these kind of crappy voices. We all have these voices, at least one and sometimes more. And Emile has been thinking about that, and Emile is here to help me on Survival Tuesday to literally become a better man. And maybe there's something for you guys out there as well. Emile, welcome to my show.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for that awesome introduction. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm just so excited to raise awareness for your listeners around that little devious voice. Just like you say, it's just there to break you down, to grind you into the dust, and to keep you back from actually achieving your dreams. So thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, typically when you're young and mommy and daddy are asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Hey. And typically they say, what do you want to be? Not who do you want to be? But that's a completely different answer. Different question, shall I say. So when you were 10, did you say, hey, mommy, I know I will help other people get better by shutting that inner voice up? Or what did you want to be?
Honestly, when I was 10, I had one voice. Like, I'm going to get into the two different voices that we have. But I had the one voice that just told me that I was going to change the world and I was going to be very successful. But I had absolutely no idea what the hell I was going to do. Like, none. I went from being a CEO of a company to being a master electrician to flying an airplane to like everything basically under the sun. So if you would tell me I would speak to people and guide them through the inner voice, I would probably say you were crazy. I have a massive fear of speaking to people. It's not what I'm going to do. But here we are.
Exactly. So intrinsically shy initially, yet you felt that there was a destiny. And that's interesting that it was coming out at a very early stage. Often enough, that destiny we only discover through trauma or discover after having gone through often half a lifetime full of not so nice times. You were actually lucky because for you, that came about very, very early. Around about 24, you suddenly changed. What triggered that? Was there one particular event? Was there one catalyst, or was that just a series of accumulations?
I really love that question. And there wasn't just one event, there was actually multiple events. And to actually get you to understand and listeners to understand why I actually went into this, I would just love to tell my background story. Okay. So it all started when I was 18 years old. So I came out of like a 2-year relationship with the first girlfriend I ever had. And it was a very how can I say, destructive relationship. It wasn't a very uplifting relationship. And that relationship broke me completely emotionally to the point where I actually got addicted to emotional pain. I don't even know if you actually can get addicted to it, but yes. I had that I just wanted to feel that pain inside of me. It was like a drug. So for 3 years, that's how my life went. So from 18 to 21, I just basically made sure that I fed that pain. I just kept on going it because at that moment in my life, that was the only thing that I had. I thought that was the only emotion that I will ever feel in my entire life. And when I was 21 years old, I actually had a manager. I was busy working for a construction company that time where we pulled network cables for companies, for the internet, for the landlines and so on. And we were busy doing an installation in one of the skyscrapers between the 10th and 11th story. And we had to pull this network cable. Now, that time, with those emotions and everything, I was an extremely negative person. I only saw the challenges. I only see how things would go wrong. I never looked at the solutions. So when we was pulling this cable, we ran into like an extremely thick beam, and we couldn't get through to the other side to actually where they drilled the holes through the concrete to get the cables through. So I called up my manager. I told him, listen, okay, we have a problem. Can't get the cable through. He's like, don't worry, I'll be on site. Just wait for me. Now, when he got on site, to make the story a little short, he actually, for every solution he gave me, I gave him a reason why that solution will fail. Now, you can probably understand how frustrating that must be for a person. And by the 5th time I did this guy flipped his mind. If you would imagine his head like a volcano, it would have erupted. It literally turned red, and he screamed at me in front of everybody. And he told me, if you continue being so negative and pessimistic and always looking at the problems, you are going to build a life that you hate. You are going to live a life of regret. In 5 years from now, you're going to hate who you are going to become. And for some reason, this guy managed to pull me out of my past, out of my misery, and he placed me into the future. And for a millisecond, I actually saw my life. I looked back and saw like, shit, he's right. I'm going to create a miserable life for myself. And obviously, I was pissed at the guy. I didn't tell him that at first. I like ignored him for like 2 weeks. When I went to the office, I would like purposely avoid him. And 2 weeks later, I told him, listen, what you said to me like really sank in. I do not want to be this person anymore. I want to change. So he ultimately became my very first mentor that I had. And since that day, I started building that very special relationship that you have with yourself that we are not really taught to build. And 3 years later, as I was busy forming this relationship, I still had this damn voice in my head that was telling me, dude, people don't like you. No matter who it was, my best friend, my family, it just continuously nagging me like, people don't like you. No matter who you are, that you will never fit in, you'll never belong, and they will always hate you, no matter what you do. And it was bothering me to bits. So at the age of 24, I finally discovered that there was life coaches. The coaching industry actually existed. And this was also the time I opened my very first company, my electrical company. And I actually saw a life coach, really connected with her. And I said, okay, let me take the shot. Let me pay the cash. She told me she can help me with this little issue, this limiting belief that I had. Let me do it. I've never tried it before. And she was actually the person that showed me where that little voice came from. Now, this little voice of mine, I thought it was me. I thought it was who I am as a person because it was my voice. It was me speaking basically to myself in my head. And what actually happened was when I was in grade 2, I had a crush on this girl in my class. Beautiful girl. What I can remember, it was like years ago, so my memory is a bit foggy on that end. And anyways, I remember that I wanted to ask this girl to be my Valentine. Very first girl ever that I wanted to ask. And so I got the chocolate, I got the little rose, I wrote the letter. I even had like the little box, yes or no, all of those little things. And that day I got to school and I remember I was nervous. Sorry for my French, but fuck, I was very nervous. And I got out of the car. I went into school. I was trembling, and the class was on the 2nd story. So I walked slowly up the stairs, and I saw a friend of mine stood there. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm first going to speak to her, calm my nerves, and then I'll ask the question. And we spoke a little bit, and I saw her came up towards me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask her. I'm just going to do it. So I gave it a chocolate. I gave it a rose. I gave it a letter, and I asked her, will you be my Valentine? And you know what she told me? I don't know, because I ran away. So I couldn't handle the answer. I literally ran. I bolted away, ran away down the stairs onto the rugby field, and I chilled there for about 20 minutes. And afterwards, the bell rang. I had to go to class. So I thought, okay, I'll face the music, but afterwards, after they gave us our rosters and everything that we had to go do for the day, I'll ask her, what's your answer afterwards? So I got into the class, and she was standing in front of the class with a bunch of her friends. So as soon as she saw me, she walked straight up to me. She looked me in the eye, and she told me, who would ever liked anybody like you, in front of the entire class? And everybody laughed at me. True story. And since that day, that little voice was in my head. That little voice, who would ever like anybody like you? And after a few weeks, that voice changed from being her voice to being my voice. And it controlled my entire school life, most of my 20s. And when I actually saw this and it actually came out, I did a visualization, which I teach my clients to actually get rid of this little voice. I just knew from that point forward, I need to get this out to people. I need to teach people and make them aware that that voice that you have inside of you that's breaking you down, it's not you. It is taught to you. It was maybe your parents, it was maybe a friend, it was maybe a teacher, but someone gave you that voice. You as a person were not created to be to break yourself down so much. You have another voice inside of you, though, that's building you up. But throughout society, that voice is the predominant overall ruling voice that we have as people, because it's so forced into us. We always are taught why we're not good enough, why we have to do better. So that's where this little voice actually came from. This is how I discovered that voice existed. But like I said, I also had this other softer voice inside of me that told me, you are going to change the world. You're going to help people. You're going to be very successful. And this little voice, I feel that voice we are born with. This is who we truly are as people deep down inside. So I help people just make that switch from, I call this limiting voice your inner villain, because that's what it is. It's there to break you. It's there to steal you. It's there to just crumble you down and leave you in pieces. But your hero is there to build you up, to remind you who you truly are, and to connect you with your purpose in life. And in a short bit, that's basically the story. That's how I got to actually teaching people around the little voice.
And if we now go back about just 50,000 years or so, when we were actually living in small hunter-gatherer communities where between, 12 and 200 people, something like that, it was of utter importance that you are not an ass, that you're not putting yourself first, but you put the group first, because that was the only way that the group could survive. So that is the background, that you would be extremely careful what you would do. And it was so careful, because if you staff up, you get ostracized, you get thrown out of the group, which is certain death. So therefore, somewhere along these lines, the feelings of shame and guilt were essentially hardwired in our subconscious. And that was a pure survival thing at that time. Now, of course, nowadays we have got the same emotions still. Oh my God. And especially if you have got mental health problems and addiction, things like that, your shame and guilt, wow, these are strong emotions. They're in overdrive. And guess what? That little voice there feeds off that like mad. So it is, we are fighting not just a hero, as not just a villain, a super villain here, because ultimately that villain has got very strong energy to feed off. And therefore it becomes so important to address that. The problem, of course, is most of us have no bloody clue that that epic battle is going on in our head. We only hear the negative voice. And that little quiet voice, as you said, the softer voice. The hero is a very quiet hero. The hero sometimes need to kick up his ass and say, "Speak up, I can't hear you." You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, you were lucky to a degree, to have that insight. Secondly, you were lucky from a time frame, because from your revelation, age 24, to the first Valentine of 06, around about 12, 13, when you had that, there's only about 12 years. Now, I'm starting today. I am 54. So my trauma or my experience might be 40, maybe even 50 years back. Now, I can't remember yesterday, leave alone 50 years back. So how do you go about that? How do you find the source?
So for me, generally what I do to find the source is you have to look at the emotion that voice gives you.
Yeah.
So there's always an emotion attached to this little voice. So what I would do is I generally ask my clients, okay, you have this voice. How does it make you feel physically in your body? All right. So does your chest tighten up? Does it feel like someone's pressing you or choking you?
Yeah.
What's the physical feeling? And then we trace that generally back. As far as you can go back, you don't have to have an exact date. The goal with this is not to give you the exact date of what happened exactly.
Yeah.
It's to give you the awareness and the evidence that it's not you. So in most cases, if it's really back and you really can't remember, we'll go into the people that were in your life, friends, family. We look at the people when you were around when you were younger. Which one of those people gave you that same emotion? And generally, that's the person that gave you that little voice, because the emotion is always attached to the voice. And this is why to change it, it's critical to change the emotion as well. And to become so hyper aware of the emotion, because it's the emotion attached with that voice that actually programs your subconscious mind. And this is ultimately later on, it's so habit, I can say. Like it just runs. It talks to you, but you don't even register it anymore. It's just you're so used to it. It just goes. And that's dangerous because you're on autopilot. So you want to become aware of that. And then once you know, okay, cool, maybe it's my grandfather, maybe it's my father, maybe it's my mother. Awesome. All you have to know is the possibility is huge. That person gave you that voice, and that's all you need to know. You don't need to know the circumstances. You don't need to know anything else. You just need to know it's not you. It was taught to you by someone in your past.
Very true. Very true. And it's virtually always not your voice, isn't it? It is not virtually, full stop. It is, we are not born like that. We are born as giggly little people who not love to fail. No one loves to fall on their butt, but we are used to failing. We're used to, yes, we fall down, then we get it back up and wipe the tears away and then get on with it. You know, this is all part and parcel of our childhood. You falling 20 times on your bottom will not be the trauma in your lifetime. Rest assured. So what changes? You know, you failed every single day. Let me eat something. Yeah, no, that didn't work. Okay, let me eat something. No, that didn't work either. Did you cry? Did you call yourself a failure? Look at yourself. You can't even get that spoon in your mouth. No. So there was once upon a time, you were this happy child. And you looked like, you know, you wore more food on your face than you actually had in your mouth. Did you care? Not a bit. So what changed? When did that bloody switch occur? And that's an interesting concept for me to just verbalize and just realize, actually. So weird. So
It is. Yeah. No, just a quick to answer that question to you is that switch actually occurred when society, your parents or your teachers start making you aware of your failures. When you were a child, no one made you aware of your failures. They helped you along. They said, okay, cool, you don't eat like this, you eat like this. And they encourage you to learn until you figure it out. But when we get older, it's like people start pointing out your failures more, like you're doing that wrong. You're doing this wrong. Oh, no, you're not good at this. And that is when that voice actually starts coming into fruition, when that voice actually starts speaking to you. And because now you're aware of, oh, there's wrong and there's right. Okay. And most of the time people point out the wrong things. When you do something right, congratulations, woo, you're good. And then they leave it. You do something wrong, you get a lecture for 20 hours on why you did it wrong and this and this and this. And then that little villain is born. Does that answer the question?
To a certain degree, that's very true. And please, it's behind me, first edition of My Steps to Sobriety. We are just about re-releasing it in its second edition. And in there is a chapter where I talk exactly about that, and where I talk about criticism and how to accept it and how to give it, how to give feedback, etc. And a little background story from me. I've been forever teaching doctors what to do in emergencies. So I'm an instructor for all these alphabet soup courses of advanced life support and trauma life support, all these kind of things. And after all these, in all these courses, you basically expose the participants to stressful scenarios, let them see how they cope, and then thereafter there's a critique. And the way we teach the critique is, okay, cool, brilliant, thank you, scenario's finished. Okay, what went well? And there's typically a stone cold silence. No one knows, no one says a thing. So we ask the participant first, the team leader, what went well? Zero. And then you really offer several scenarios to teach them, hey, look, did you follow a systematic approach? Yes, you did. Did you do the basics right? Oh, yes, you did. You did actually very well. Did you communicate well? Yes, you did. And people don't see that, all that. The 99% that went well, they don't see. And then if we then open the floor, not just to the participant, but say to the rest of the group, guys, what do you think? And God, the first time around, there he did that. Oh, I saw how he did that mistake. And they might have as well taken a chainsaw and cut the guy to pieces. That is how our society works. You focus on the negative, and it's brutal, especially, and it seems to be the more advanced you go in your career, the more brutal the feedback is. To a certain degree, that makes sense in my field, because if we fuck up, then people die. Okay, I'll take that. It would be nice to focus on really 100% success and 100% good performance. So that's all cool. I'll take all that. But with you can't exist like that. There is a saying, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And it's that ability to face adverse circumstances and grow from that is so wonderful. And you can't do that if you have failed and now start taking the whip out.
Yeah.
For the next 2 years. No, it is what you should say is, okay, you failed, and what a great starting point. Last Saturday, I went onto a shooting competition, and I stuffed up. I went absolutely fine for all the matches, was actually heading towards a medal in my category, and then I stuffed up in the very last match. And I thought, what the heck? what the heck? Luckily, like you, I have gone on this journey to deal with my inner demons, with these voices. And it's interestingly enough, immediately when I made a mistake that ruined that match, I put my hand up, stop, yeah, mistake, bomb, DQ'd. I fucked up here. And people said, no, keep shooting, that's okay. Yes, you fucked up, but finish the stage, which I did, and I hit well, but all the points were not counted because I fucked up there. I was okay with that. I was okay with other people taking the mick out of me because I'm Mr. Conscious, safety conscious, and stuff up. There you go. A day later, the voice came. How do you do? And it was a very interesting experience. In the past, I would have taken the whip out myself, and the next week, I would have not looked in the mirror. Despite all the work I've done, here I am. It was about 24 hours in which I was in a really lousy mood. I learned shitloads. I'm grateful for the fact that I made this mistake because I will not make the same mistake ever again. So it's good. But, and that's what we need to teach the people, isn't it? Yeah. It is make mistakes. Make them, preferably not when you're a doctor and lives are at stake. Preferably, maybe not when you're a pilot and have got, a full aeroplane behind you and sort of, oops, that was a bit fast. Okay. You get the idea. But we need to accept that we do mistakes and that mistakes are a huge opportunity for us to learn and to grow and to expand our horizons. This is where you accept that things have not gone right. And now it's time to be uncomfortable. There's nothing wrong with that. But stop the self-flagellation. Take that uncomfortable feeling, create a mental scar, and say, okay, I fucked up, but what can I learn from that? What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? Okay, I didn't do that. Okay, fine. So now you're better off. How cool is that? How long does it take your clients to come to these insights? Because sometimes this nasty voice is very well ingrained. As I said, it's a supervillain, not just a villain.
Yeah. That is such I love the way that you explained it, and also when you said, "What can you learn out of this?" That is so gold. And I just need to raise this point because a lot of people, when they when they do fuck up and they do these problems, they never ask themselves, "Okay, but I ask myself, what's the blessing this problem is giving to me?" Because there's always a blessing, there's always a lesson behind it. So I just want to highlight that a little bit. And because that's so important. Now, to answer your question, it's my clients generally, I teach them how to master that law of voice in a 5-step process I call the LICA method. And LICA basically is locate, identify, conscience, change, and adventure. Now, by the third step, conscience, when they start being conscious around what that voice actually uses, the superpowers it uses to keep you trapped, which is your thoughts and your phrases, the only two things that actually uses. Because conquer those two areas, you conquer every area of your life. It is just, you don't have to make physical changes, just change your thoughts and your phrases, and the physical change will automatically start coming in. Now, my clients only realize it when we start going into from conscience to change. Then they start seeing, oh, shit, okay, it's what I say to myself. It's actually what I think to myself. And then that's which really occurs down there when they actually change the first thought. So let's say like one of my clients had this thought. She said, I'm always tired. And she was always tired. And I told her, all right, cool. What about we change it? And instead of saying, I'm always tired, you just say, I feel tired. And a week later, she came back to me. She's like, holy shit, I have so much energy. I can't understand this. Like my tiredness just went away. And then I'm like, yes, that's how simple it is. It's if you say I am, you're associating your identity with the feeling. When you say I feel, it's you name it what it is. It's a feeling. It will pass. It will go. And that's generally when my clients start like, and then when they do that, and coupled with the last step, and I'm going to share this a bit later or just now, on what's so important to use your emotions to fast track this whole process. And when they figure that out, they like go on steroids, basically. They want to change every thought. They're like, God, I want to change. And it's so amazing because they don't actually see it and everything starts changing. So yeah, that's when they really realize, holy shit, okay, I can change it. I can do this.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's so powerful because ultimately you have failed. You're not a failure. And that's such a huge distinction. And that's, I would like to go back and take that person who put that you're a failure thought in me. I would like to, honestly, but it is so strong. It is so, so, so strong. Okay. So here you were, you're 24, your first mentor placed this rocket up your ass, really, and put you onto the fast track of self-improvement. You then found other mentors along the line. And I guess there it's so lovely to hear that because you actually took the first step where you said, wow, okay, I can't do it alone. First of all, you recognized there's a problem. Secondly, you recognized I can't do it alone. Thirdly, you recognized actually there is hope out there. There are people out there who can help me. And that's essentially step 1, 2, and 3 of AA, of Alcoholics Anonymous or any of the other offshoots of Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous, etc. So it's actually really, really powerful what has occurred to you when you were 24. But how long did then the journey actually take for you to come to the point that you're now, that point where you actually had it together? Because at 24, you had the revelation or the catalyst hitting you. And then there is a journey starting, your own hero's journey, so to speak, to get to the point where you are now. How long has this journey been?
This journey has been like a year and a half. I'm 26 now. I'm 26 and a half, going on 27. Yeah. About a year and a half to 2 years. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah. It is a journey. Yeah. It was a hell of a freaking, what do you call it? Roller coaster. Completely roller coaster. Yeah. But I will not trade it for the world. That journey ultimately played a massive part of who I am, and it made me a better person. But it took a while for me to really grasp it. So since I had that revelation with him, I was 21, and I fully moved, like got my confidence, everything back to the point where I can actually now sit in front of you, speak about this, and actually bring impact to people. It took me like 6 years, no lies, in total, to get that true change. But I'm so grateful for it because now I can give that to people. I always tell people, like you said, ask for help. Don't go do your 6 years, try to figure it out on your own. You're going to get to the same process I did. But I can help you break that process down into 3 to 6 months. Straight up. Then, because I don't want you to figure it out. There's this old saying, and I love living by the saying, it always says that money will come and go. It comes in, it goes, it's a process, okay? Time, once it's gone, it's gone. You will never, ever get it back. So if you can cut that time shorter, isn't that the most valuable thing that you can ever do in your life?
Very, very, very true words spoken. Very true words. Nice. And if anyone is out there and is looking at Emile and thinks, what is this young guy talking? Oh, come on. How can he tell me something? He's barely been out of the crib, for Christ's sake. No. And, you know, the typical kind of sort of opinionated 50-year-old kind of a thing. You're opinionated and you're in trouble because you haven't asked for help. Okay, so let me just tell you that straight into the face. Life has given you lemons, and you somehow tried to deal with them. But life has also given you a supercomputer up there. The problem is, no one gave you ever the user manual. So here you are, trying to figure it all out yourself, and that's maybe not so clever. Why not ask someone who actually has got an idea about that supercomputer? And that's where life coaches come in, mentors come in, people like sponsors from the AA, if addiction is an issue, your GP, your family physician, because you're not the first one who ends up in either trouble up here or trouble there or trouble combined. That's cool. You know, build a power team, build a team of people that are by your side, at your side, support you. And you want to be always the stupidest member of your team. If you know everything, why the hell do you need a team? So no, surround yourself with people who know far more than you. And in all fairness, if you wanted to learn a language from someone, it doesn't matter if this person has forever lived in France, let's say, and has lived there and is a natural speaker, or if this person has gone 2 years ago, emigrated to France, lived, immersed there. They both speak probably pretty much the same thing. Maybe not when it comes to Shakespeare kind of level of French or the equivalent, but you know, pretty much they both will be damn good teachers. What's the difference? Well, the one person who went there 2 years has immersed him or herself into the language and really focused on it. That's pretty good. So now they are fluent in that language. Can they teach you? Shit, yeah. So therefore, it is exactly that. So look at yourself. And if you think that you're like me, and like I would say 99.9% of people out there who have got these limiting voices, and there's someone like Emile there who can actually maybe just help you with that limiting voice. Could you imagine a life where suddenly that softer voice plays the most important role? Could you imagine a life where that could lead you? Maybe just start dreaming, just for a moment, daydream, and think, wow, if there's no way that I could not succeed, where would that lead me? Who would I become? Not what, not how rich, but who would I become? Oh, that gives me bloody goosebumps just thinking about that and actually going through that. So how cool is that? So, Emile, I mean, this is essentially the power that you are giving these people on a plate, and how. I mean, you have done your work now for quite some time. How do people respond once they have taken on this new superpower of being able to quiet that voice? What are the changes that you see?
I see a lot of changes. Firstly, like what you just said, like they start dreaming for the first time, and it differs from person to person. Some people years since they had that dream again, and it just lights them up. They glow. Their health, some people's health gets better. Their emotional states get better. Their friendships, everything just like increases. Their happiness, and they didn't change, like we said, anything in the outside world. They just made that switch on the inside of themselves. They just fixed that relationship with themselves. And for me, the biggest change I probably think that is really like wow for me is that ability that people start dreaming. and they actually go after it. They don't just dream. They don't have it just in their head. Now they want it. And they can't sit still anymore. And I've had countless clients told me, like, I can't sit still. I can't sit still. I have to change something. And I told them, go for it. Change. Yeah. And then they do. My first client was probably the best experience I ever had. She was also about 45 years old. And at that time, when I just started coaching, I didn't at that moment believe that I need to ask people for money. So, but I also know that people connect value towards what they pay. So I said to her, okay, cool. I'll give you this program for like R1,000, which is in dollars, probably like $70. It's for like a 3-month program, like cheap. Okay. And I think that was like all she had. There's some places in South Africa that's quite poor. And she like give it. And this lady gave her best. Like she showed up, she did the work, she did everything. And now she is running her own foundation. She's doing her own coaching services. She opened up, I think, 3 schools through a foundation within a year of just that work. And in the past, she thought she was nothing worth. Her husband was cheating on her, that she was just a failure at life, that she will never, ever have fulfillment and freedom in her life. And within 3 to 6 months, her life just like changed. And that ultimately was for me probably the best thing that I see in people. It's just that complete 180 change that they flip on their life. And that is like money, it doesn't compare towards what you see when a person does that. It's just, I live for that feeling. It's I almost can't describe that, which I get through it, but that's the biggest change that I see. It's just people actually start dreaming again, and they actually go after what they wanted to do in the first place, but they never really believed that they could. And they never really had the people that told them, you can do this. You are good enough. You have the skills. You have everything. If you don't have the skill, you can learn it, but you can do this. And that's the biggest shift ultimately that I see.
And when we talk about dreams, I think we should qualify that and be more specific, because when it comes to this awakening, when it comes to that realization that you can change things, a dream becomes a vision, and that vision is crystal clear. And then out of this vision, you add action to it, and it becomes a mission. And then suddenly that is where things happen, because you have now the belief that yes, you can do it. And by having that belief, your brain asks now the right questions, or you ask the right questions, not like when you were laying the cable. See, why will that not work? Your brain will come up with an idea. Yeah, because the beam is too thick. No, a drill won't be long enough to get through that beam. The beam is too hard. It will fuck up all the drills that we've got. And it will, and so on. Ask the brain why it will not work. It will come up with the answers. Rest assured. It's the same when you ask now, what is 2 and 2? Do not think of the answer. Do not think of the answer. You can't. When I say, what is 2 and 2? Your brain will say 4. And that is exactly how your brain works. Your brain gives you answers constantly. Every single second, it will give you an answer, or 10 or 20. And it's just, what do you ask? Oh, I'm such a failure. How could I possibly have done that? Oh, simple. Because you're a failure, because you're blah, 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 blah. Your brain will come up with the answers. And how would your life be if you now rephrase that question? Brilliant, I've failed. What can I learn from that? Your brain will say, bang, 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 bang. Thank you very much, brain. How cool is that? Yeah. How cool is that? So, guys, this is life-changing. This is Survival Tuesday at its best, okay? Because that flip in your head, if you can flip that switch, that's when miracles start really rolling in. Damn, Emile, this is powerful stuff. This is beautiful stuff, and I absolutely love it. If people really are infused about what we are talking about and they want to get hold of you and work with you, how do they go about that?
The best place that I will say is to get hold of me and to actually get a lot of value from me as well. I love just adding value. Is to, on Facebook, I have a Facebook group called Become Your Own Hero, because ultimately that's just what I want people to do. I want you to have the superpower. So they can search me on Facebook, join the group, Become Your Own Hero. And yeah, that's the best way. And every week in this group, I actually give free live trainings as well. So we do a live every single week. I actually, just before we jumped onto this podcast, I jumped off my live, and I was so pumped up after that. So I said, oh, we're ready for this. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, you are. You took action. You went out there, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you start change, you implement change, and your body says, "Ooh, that's nice. Ooh, look at the feelings I'm getting from then." There's a smile. There's the feeling of warmth from humility. There is the feeling of success. Ooh, I did that. That's nice. These are nice feelings. Not the always, oh, I'm such a failure. No. They're cool feelings waiting there. And that's such a beautiful, powerful lesson. If you create little steps of success, little micro habits, little changes here, little changes there, by the time you have blinked, you have come such a long way. And that is obviously what you are helping other people with. So no, that's brilliant. Guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast. Emile's contact details are down there. So, what could possibly go wrong? Say hello to the guy. Hey, now say hello to his Facebook group. I think you're gonna find me there. So that's all cool. That's about the only downside that there is to it. So no, kidding. So why not? And that must be the key question to you. What could possibly go wrong? I don't hear you. That's right. There is nothing. There's nothing that could possibly go wrong. So get in contact and start the journey. Start to learn. And once you have started that, well, what might be the next step? Well, I don't know. It is your life. You're responsible for your life. You're the author of the live book that you're writing. So what's going to be the next chapter? That needs to be the question. Stop living a life that is run by others. Stop living a life that is run by that inner supervillain voice. Live a life where you ask yourself, what will I do today? What's going to be? And that is so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Emile, wow. Wow, what an important topic. What a super focus you have developed on that. And because you have developed that and you're only at the start of your life, 26, 27, hell, where are you going? How do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in the sense of who do you want to become? In a year's time? In 5 years' time? Are there any thoughts? What is your dream? What is your vision?
There are actually where I see myself actually going into the future, and I'm going to go quite far. Let's say 10 years into the future. I actually see myself being one of the people that actually brings the change into school systems, which I feel is so needed in today's society. Where what we spoke about today, it's being taught to children from a young age. It's to teach children what is emotions, how does your thoughts work, what is these voices. It's just to give them actual skills, actual life skills that they can use to deal with life challenges and with life adversities. And to show listen, life is not fair. We know this. It's not. but it's what you make out of it. It's not what has been dealt to you. It's what you've done with what life gives you. Like you say, life gives you lemons. It's your choice to make lemonade.
Absolutely.
Or it's your choice to just throw the lemons away and say, oh, but life gave me lemons and it's so sour. So that's where I really see myself going into, is just to bring that into the world. And
sorry, I'm laughing.
No.
Where is it? There. That little thing there. That is my first children's book that will come out later in the year. And that is Esme, the mindful mouse, who lives in our beautiful redwood forest and needs to learn mindfulness and needs to be aware of the feelings. So there you go. We are both on the same mission here. And how beautiful is that? Because if you can change the children and allow them to become more stronger human beings, it's much easier to build up a child than to repair a broken man. And if we could just start early, you're so right. Oh, I'm so pleased for you, man. Wow. Okay, we are booking now the follow-up interview, okay, in 2 years' time. Right now, this day in 2 years' time, we are talking again. Because ultimately,
that's a deal.
That's right. Who knows? It is just, we two are people who have been, who have learned that change is possible. And not just possible, it is inevitable if you ask the right questions to your brain. And if you recognize what's happening in there, the little devil and the little, or well, in your case, the villain and the hero. So actually, I liked it more than the devil and the angel, actually, the more I think about it. That is really, really cool. So I'm really, really, really pleased that you came today onto my show. You made my day, and you rattled my foundations. You actually asked, you guided me to ask the right questions and to reevaluate what's happening. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. Because you will have already, with talking to me, you have created change in me. And there's nothing more powerful than for me to become thirsty for, okay, that's cool. And already the dominoes are sort of click, 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 click up there, where I'm thinking, So yes, there's nothing stopping me today. And I hope all of you out there are equally infused. And as I said, look down there in the description of the YouTube video. And whilst you're looking down there, there's this little button which says subscribe. And would that not be cool if you just press that? And whilst you're pressing it, you could say, well, this was actually a really cool talk today. Maybe I tell my friends about that. So come on, bring the guys on and let them press the subscribe button, because every number counts. And if someone comes across my YouTube channel or my podcast and thinks, what's that about? And then they look at the subscribers and they look at, oh, okay, there are actually a few people there. Maybe it's something. Every number counts. So help us to spread the word, because life is too short. The time is everything. Emile, you're so right. Money comes and goes, but time is here. And why not use the time to improve yourself, to learn how to act in an appropriate way, how to ask the right questions to your brain, and how to ask the important question, who do you want to be when you grow up? Who do you want to be? And Emile can help you figure it out by actually quieting the supervillain in you. So, Emile, thank you so much for coming onto my show. I'm really, really grateful for your input today.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And I want to leave your listeners with one last little tip, though. And that is one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in my life. And I'm going to say, when you make those changes, when you fight this villain and you flip these thoughts and you flip these phrases, make a game out of this. Like my first business mentor, we put everything together. We crafted the vision, we crafted the goals, the 3-month plan, the year plan, everything. And the last question you ask is like, all right, Emile, you're ready to go and do this business, make it a success. You're ready. My question is, how are you going to make it stick though? How are you going to follow through with the changes that you need to make? And I was pumped up at that time, like we most are, like after this video, after this podcast, you are pumped up. Cool. I told him, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go and I'm going to do it. He's like, sweet. What is, after 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, what you're going to do then? You know, the motivation, everything goes away then. I'm like, and I stood and I'm like, shit, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm like, what am I going to do? And he told me one thing. He's like, you're going to make a game out of this. And I ultimately called this step, make an adventure out of this, because it's actually what it is. And what it actually is you're not going to beat yourself up. You're not going to blame yourself when you make these changes. You're a human being. So have mercy on yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Make it fun. Make it an adventure. So what I want to say to your listeners is, and this is probably like a huge tip, is every time you make this change, give yourself some bit of love. Just pause for like 2 seconds. Look inside. I give myself a high five. I tell myself, you're awesome. You're one step closer. I love you. And just feel that emotion. Just feel that love. Feel that happiness. And there's a chemical reaction in your brain that actually happens when you do that. And that is ultimately, it's going to drive your brain insane to actually want to make the changes. So, and if you miss it, cool, dude, miss it. You missed it once, you missed maybe a day, you felt a bit depressed or whatever. It's all right. Tomorrow is another day. Just give yourself some love. And that is the last little step that I want to leave your listeners with. I feel it's just so important to share that one.
I love that, because imagine your life, guys. You've had, I don't know how long, you've had this supervillain going on about it. He is very experienced, or she, and this voice is very, very strong and has been there for a long time. It will take a little bit of time. It will take practice. It will, there are battles that he or she will win. But the more you practice in this adventure, the more you are aware of yourself, the more you will win the battles. And sooner rather than later, that voice, the nasty voice, will become less and less and less. And that's cool. That's really, really cool. Emile, thank you so much. Your words are gold, and your input is gold, and your energy is fantastic. So thank you so much for coming onto my show. Guys out there, absolutely. Guys out there, look after yourself. Stay strong. Bye.